Hello everyone, I'm Hoko. It's time for you to learn about Japanese culture in a fun and easy way. This time, we'll explore the seasons of Japan through the beauty of haiku. Haiku is a very short poem with only 3 lines, but each one captures a powerful feeling, a vivid image, and a brief moment in nature or life. One special feature of Japanese haiku is the use of kigo. Kigo is a word that shows a season and brings its feeling into the poem, like cherry blossoms in spring or the full moon in autumn. Through kigo, haiku becomes a window into Japanese seasons. In this video, I'll introduce 14 haiku ranging from the 17th century haiku master Matsuo Bashō to the modern poets of the 20th century. I'll share 4 haiku by female poets. Each haiku reflects not only the spirit of each season, but also the heart and voice of the poet. If you enjoy poetry, nature, or writing your own haiku, I hope this video will inspire you. And who knows, by the end, you might feel like writing a haiku yourself. Now let's begin with the very first sign of spring in Japan.
From January to February, the plum blossom, ume in Japanese, begin to bloom across Japan. People enjoy plum blossom viewing and feel the coming of spring with joy. Since ancient times, plum blossoms have been mentioned in Japanese poems. In the Manyoshu, Japan's oldest existing collection of poetry, plum blossoms are composed over 3 times more often than cherry blossoms. The first haiku was composed by Hattori Ransetsu. Ransetsu was born as a low-ranking samurai warrior. He became a disciple of Matsuo Bashō. Later, Ransetsu left the samurai life and made haiku his profession. Ume ichirin, ichirin hodo no atataka. Single plum blossom, slightly each one brings the warmth of spring. This haiku says that even one blossom brings a little warmth. It means how a small thing can show us just a tiny seasonal change. The second haiku is by Takahama Kyoshi. He studied haiku under Masaoka Shiki, one of the 4 great haiku masters in Japan. He faithfully followed his teacher's ideas at first, focusing on realism and everyday observation, but over time he shifted toward a more soft, lyrical, and slightly idealized style. As editor of a popular haiku magazine named Hototogisu, he helped shape modern haiku and supported many younger poets. Various flowers bloom throughout the year, and each one of them is a kigo in haiku. Not only plants, but even something as invisible as a wind can be a kigo. Kyoshi composed a haiku using the spring breeze. Harukaze ya toshi dakite oka ni tatsu. Spring breeze on my face, standing tall on the hill, with the spirit of fighting. In order to write novels, Kyoshi had been away from the haiku world for 10 years. At the age of 39, he decided to return to haiku and compose this haiku. Nakamura Teijo of the 20th century studied haiku under Kyoshi. As a prominent female haiku poet, she helped popularize haiku among housewives through radio and television. Around March, small yellow flowers bloom everywhere. It is a dandelion or a tampopo in Japanese. Teijo wrote the haiku about the dandelion. タンポポや日はいつまでも大空に Dandelions blooming, shining sun stays long in the wide open sky. Dandelions have grown in Japan since ancient times, but they are rarely used in classical Japanese poetry. They began appearing more often in the late 19th and 20th centuries because poets turned their attention to more familiar and modest aspects of everyday nature. Rapeseed flowers or nanohana in Japanese bloom in early spring across Japan. The third haiku is by Bashō Buson. Buson was one of the four great haiku masters. During his lifetime, he was highly regarded as a painter, but he was not so famous as a haiku poet. Masaoka Shiki greatly appreciated Buson's haiku, and Buson became as famous as Bashō. His haiku are so picturesque that the scenes come to life. 菜の花や昼ひとしきり海の音 Fields of rapeseed Midday moment Sound of ocean. This haiku captures a quiet moment. From a field of bright yellow rape flowers, the poet hears the sound of the sea, not far away, but suddenly, for a moment in the daytime. It's a haiku about awareness. When the world becomes still, we notice small, beautiful things. The cherry blossom, sakura in Japanese, is a flower the Japanese people love the most. In Japanese poetry, sakura is perhaps the most beloved subject. Their short-lived beauty has long inspired poems and songs, symbolizing both the joy and sadness of life. Cherry blossom viewing is a favorite spring activity among the Japanese people. Let's appreciate the two different types of haiku about sakura. The first one is by Tomiyasu Fusei. It is said that Fusei composed a haiku when he saw the weeping cherry tree at Guhoji Temple. Fusei studied haiku under Kyoshi. His haiku are known for their clarity, refinement, and gentle emotional tone. Masao naru, sora yori shidare, zakura kana. Clear blue sky, from there hanging, weeping cherry trees. This haiku paints a peaceful spring scene. The poet looks up and the sky is deep and pure blue. It feels as if the blossoms are falling straight from the sky itself. The next haiku is by Ryokan the priest, a Zen Buddhist priest who was active from the 18th to the 19th century. Ryokan was born into a wealthy family, but he became a monk at the age of 18 and spent many years in strict training, eventually becoming a respected Zen master. He never owned a temple or married, but he demonstrated a simple yet deeply fulfilling way of life. He loved to play with children, and he shared the Buddha's teachings with people in a very simple way. He was also an accomplished poet and calligrapher. 散る桜、残る桜も散る桜 Scattering cherry blossoms, the ones left behind, will also drift away. This haiku reflects the Buddhist idea of impermanence. Everything changes and nothing lasts forever. Even the blossoms still clinging to the tree are already beginning to fall. Some fall now, some later, but all belong to the same moment. That's the beauty. The next haiku is about tulips. Tulips were introduced from the West during the late 19th century. For this reason, the tulip did not appear in traditional Japanese haiku, but became a popular subject in modern haiku. Tulips are especially common in freestyle haiku, and among female haiku poets who use their brightness and delicate beauty to express pure emotions such as joy, hope, and innocence. Hosomi Ayako composed a haiku about the tulip. Ayako was a prominent haiku poet of the 20th century. Her haiku stood out for their quiet strength and emotional clarity, in contrast to the objective or descriptive style that was common in her time. In her days, most haiku were written by men. She brought a fresh female voice to haiku and opened new ways for future generations of female poets. チューリップ、喜びだけを持っている。Tulips hold nothing but pure joy. This haiku is modern and unique. It delivers a strong emotional impression. Tulips, with their bold colors and upright shapes, seem to express pure joy. There is no hidden sadness or complexity. This kind of haiku resonates with many people today, especially those who are unfamiliar with traditional Japanese aesthetics. It shows how haiku continues to evolve and express new ideals, especially from female perspectives. Masaoka Shiki is considered one of the four great haiku masters. Unlike the earlier great poets, Shiki lived in the modern late 19th century and reformed the haiku tradition in a major way. He coined the term haiku as we use it today. He believed in writing haiku based on direct observation, like sketching what you see. Thanks to his works, haiku became a respected modern literary form. Shiki died at the age of 34. He spent the last 7 years of his life bedridden with spinal caries in a room overlooking the garden. Wisteria flowers, Fuji in Japanese, are at their peak from April to May. Shiki composed haiku in the final stage of his life. 藤の花、長押して雨降らんとす。Wisteria blooming, hanging long below. Rain is about to fall. Wisteria flowers grow long and heavy, hanging down like a soft purple curtain. They appear to be in full bloom, as if it could rain at any moment. Shiki shows how a simple scene in nature can express beauty and the passage of time. This is a feature of Shiki's haiku, a sensitive eye for observation, precise expression, and a deep awareness of how nature reflects emotions. Morning Glory, asagao in Japanese, came to Japan from China in the 8th century, originally as a medicinal plant. Over time, it spread and naturalized. In the 18th century, it became popular as an ornamental flower, especially in summer. They also began to appear in haiku, symbolizing the quiet and fleeting beauty of the early morning. The next haiku was composed by a female poet, Kaga no Chiyojo, of early 18th century. Kaga was the name of the district where she was born, the present Ishikawa Prefecture. She is said to have already been composing haiku by the age of 6. Her talent for haiku was recognized by a high disciple of Bashō, the greatest haiku master. She is said to have composed 1700 haiku during her lifetime. 朝顔に鶴瓶取られてもらい水 Vines of morning glory entwine the well bucket. I turn to my neighbor for water. In old Japan, people in rural communities shared wells to fetch water. A wooden bucket called a tsurube was lowered into the well with a rope to fetch water. In this haiku, the poet finds that the morning glory vine has twined around the rope of the bucket as well. It made it difficult to use the bucket. Not wanting to harm the delicate vine, the poet chose instead to fetch water from a neighbor. It's a small gesture, but it reflects a deep sense of harmony with nature. The poem captures a quiet, graceful moment of choosing beauty and harmony with nature over convenience. The moon has long been one of the most popular subjects in Japanese poetry. Let's appreciate the two haiku by the two great haiku masters. One by Matsuo Bashō, filled with quiet elegance, and one by Kobayashi Issa, full of warmth and humor. The first one is by Bashō. 名月や池を巡りてよぼすがら Glorious full moon, around the pond I wander all night long. This haiku captures a quiet, peaceful moment. Bashō walks around the pond, admiring the full moon all night. It shows a deep connection between nature and the human heart. There is no drama, just a tranquil beauty of the moon and a simple walk. The next one is by Issa. 名月を取ってくれろと泣く子かな The full moon, get it for me, cries a tearful child. This haiku captures a touching and humorous moment from everyday life. A young child sees a beautiful full moon and, not understanding it's far away, cries and begs for someone to get it. The poem expresses the innocence and wonder of childhood. At the same time, the poem shows how the beauty of nature, like the moon, can evoke strong emotions in even the youngest children. Ida Dakotsu was a well-known haiku poet in the 20th century. He studied haiku under Kyoshi and became known for his deep and sophisticated expression of the beauty of nature and the seasons, while maintaining a strong connection to the traditional haiku form. He made an enduring impact on modern haiku. One of his famous haiku is about Suzuki, or Japanese pampas grass, also called silver grass because of its shining feathers. Suzuki is one of the 7 autumn plants mentioned in ancient Japanese poetry and culture. 折りとりてはらりと重きすすきかな Plucking a pampas stalk, it softly touches my hand. I wait unexpected alone. This haiku captures a quiet moment. The poet gently picks a stalk of pampas grass. It bends softly but feels surprisingly heavy. Its beauty lies in the contrast between the light movement of the grass and its unexpected weight. The poem is not just about the grass, but about how nature surprises us when we pay close attention. Words that describe the conditions of the season can also serve as kigo. For example, cold is a kigo for winter. Here is a haiku by Hoshino Tatsuko that expresses coldness. She was a daughter of Takahama Kyoshi and an outstanding haiku poet of the 20th century. しんしんと寒さが楽しい歩みゆく I walk along through silent snow, enjoying the chill. This haiku clearly captures a quiet moment in winter. The first phrase, しんしんと is associated with a soundless snowfall. What makes the poem unique is unexpected feeling of joy in the cold. Instead of complaining about the chill, the poet embraces it as something to be enjoyed while walking. This haiku shows how beauty can be found in the stillness of winter and how a personal emotion, pleasure in the cold, can be gently expressed with just a few words. In Japan, many chrysanthemums bloom in autumn, and they have been admired for their elegant beauty and symbol of the season. In haiku, however, winter chrysanthemum refers to a rare flower that blooms throughout the winter. Unlike autumn chrysanthemums that bloom in full color and warmth, the winter chrysanthemum stands alone in the chill, quiet, modest, and strong. The final haiku was composed by Mizuhara Shuoshi about the winter chrysanthemum. Shuoshi was both a respected physician and a prominent haiku poet. He studied haiku under Kyoshi and became one of his most talented disciples. However, Shuoshi eventually broke away from Kyoshi's traditional style and aimed for a more personal and emotional form of haiku expressing inner feelings and lyrical beauty. His works helped shape the modern haiku movement by combining classical aesthetics with a new poetic freedom. 冬菊の的はおのが光の実 Winter chrysanthemum, all it wears is its inner glow. This haiku celebrates the quiet power and grace of the flower. Unlike spring and summer flowers, which grow in the sunlight and dew, winter chrysanthemums shine in their own light, symbolizing independence and inner beauty. It stands alone in the cold, needing nothing but itself. In Japan, haiku poets use traditional guides called the saijiki to learn and research kigo. The saijiki lists seasonal words for each part of the year. Sometimes the season in the guide is a little different from real life. That's because the saijiki follows old traditions, not the exact weather today. However, the saijiki help haiku poets become more familiar with nature and demonstrate the beauty of the Japanese language. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching.